In a previous episode, we played the Earth Amplified song Global Warning, a climate change awareness track that featured Sticman of Dead Prez. We spoke to him about his music and many forms of activism.
I'm Stic. I'm one half of Dead Prez. I MC, I produce, and, we've been touring the world and doing albums as Dead Prez for over a decade. First album was Let's Get Free. One of our biggest songs is bigger than hip-hop.
MCs get a little bit of love and think they hot. Talking about how much money they got. Nigga, all y'all records sound the same. I'm sick of that fake thug R&B rap scenario all day on the radio. Same scenes in the video. Monotonous material. Y'all don't hear me though. These record labels slang our tapes like dope. You could be next in line and sign and still be writing rhymes and rope. You would rather have a Lexus or justice, a dream or some substance, a beamer, a necklace or freedom.
Many people know us for our political lyrics and, the hardcore style. And we also, have been activists in different community campaigns, whether it was rallying against police brutality or something, that I'm personally very, very passionate and committed to is, health and wellness. I'm also an author. I put out, and a publisher, I put out a couple of books. I founded the RBG Fit Club so that I could fuse my love for hip-hop with my love for training as a martial arts student and a runner, marathoner.
What kind of diet did you grow up on? Was it the standard for your friends and family?
The diet I grew up on was, in Florida, what we call in the States, the Southern cuisine. So, the best tasting foods you can imagine, soul food, all types of meat, very seasoned, fried foods, and a little bit of vegetables here and there. But pretty much the standard soul food diet, a lot of fried chicken and fish and things of that nature, pork chops, and you name it. I read in Malcolm X's book for the first time where he started talking about pork because, he was Muslim. And for Muslims, pork is against their faith. Yeah. So it was the first time that I had even ever thought of anything being wrong with any food. And so that started my journey on my awareness of some food is healthy, some food is not. And then I started thinking about people in my family, like this lady I know, Miss Peaches. She had diabetes, very bad, and to the point where she was on what's called a dialysis machine. And she would have to go twice a week and get basically her liver and everything flushed out, hooked up to a machine. And this was just her way. And her lifestyle and her diet was the same in our community, and many people were headed in that direction. So I just started seeing the connection, and then I became a very naive and ignorant vegetarian. So, French fries and M&Ms, you know what I mean, was like, yeah. I'm a vegetarian now. I ended up meeting a beautiful young woman 20 years ago this year who became my girlfriend and then my wife, and she happened to be a vegetarian. Now she's a holistic nutritionist. So for the last 20 years, since that time, I have been blessed to be with a partner who is dedicated 100% of the time to health and wellness, and I've just been influenced and inspired by her, and I learned in terms of my growing understanding of nutrition and plant-based diet. My wife was able to help me heal without any medicine or doctor when I came down with a condition called gout from smoking blunts every day, drinking alcohol, ridiculous, eating burgers and hot dogs, and she was there to help me heal, and that's when I became a vegan in that healing process, and she was instrumental in that. And we have an organic garden, and we're part of an organic gardening collective in our neighborhood for urban communities to have more access to organic vegetables.
But that diet though, you get dropped the same way. What's beef? Beef is when you're 12 years old and obese. Clogged arteries, can't see your own feet until you up in ICU. Guaranteed to be in ICU. From that processed food, suicide is a suicide. Don't want no microwaves, no pesticides. Fast food, slow death in disguise. It's the wild, wild westernized world of deception and lies. What's beef? Beef is when you starve in a famine. Nothing won't grow when the land stays barren. Pollution in the river, mercury in the salmon. What sense do it make to be at war with the planet?
Balance Radio. It's a periodic thing. This year we're going to do it seasonal, so every season we do a theme. And Balance Radio is just me having fun with music I love from a range of genres, and making a healthy sandwich in between that music with content that's inspirational for, motivation, and just a way that I can give back to our many, many supporters who've been listening to Dead Prez and want to see what, where we are today, where we're going. And, I want to put some positive energy back out, because I feel like we've done that a lot with Dead Prez, but at times we've also focused on some of the harder struggles and some of the things that are cause more tension, you know what I mean, when you speak on it and you bring it about. And I think people don't always get to see your full perspective. So I think it's the responsible thing to do is to share that energy too, because it's not just about pointing out the problems, but it's about pointing out solutions as well.
Led you to embrace a plant-based diet?
Two things. One was, like I said, I got exposed to the political aspects of diet, through Malcolm X and related teachings. I learned that a lot of the ways we eat, especially in the black community, is a tradition we inherited from the enslavement period. Pork fat and just all these different things. A lot of that, wasn't our African culture, but came through, survival food, survival diet. So that made me politically willing to change. You can be politically aware of something, but you're not physically disciplined.
Yeah.
So, you know what I'm saying? So that was the first thing that opened me up. But honestly, what physically gave me the discipline was when I got diagnosed with gout. And I look at that as not a bad thing. I look at it as a blessing in disguise. It gave me enough urgency to do the research and to be willing to see the significance of me really making that change. It was like I had to rise to that occasion, and that experience, really came at the best time it could in my life. I was like 21 maybe, which nobody gets gout at 21.
No.
But I did, and that was right when my album came out and right when I got exposed to a whole lot more resources and a lifestyle that would have probably been even more detrimental to my health had I not came down with that condition.
Yeah, I've previously heard a podcast interview with Byron Hertz on veganism, hip-hop, and his documentary Soul Food Junkies. What is your involvement with that film, and why did it interest you?
Right on, man. Well, I did an original score. I did a lot of the music for Soul Food Junkies. Byron Hertz is a good friend of mine, and as soon as he, reached out, I was just excited because it's right aligned with, my brand mission, my personal beliefs and values, and I thought it would be a great opportunity. He was a big fan of the Workout album, and he initially reached out to me and said, can he use some of the music from that album to score the film, to, be as a part of the film. And then when we got to talking, and I was just explaining to him how passionate I am about what he's doing, and we decided, hey, let's create some new stuff. That was just a good merger of things, and I was really happy with the film. It's a serious subject, very personal to Byron, but ultimately it doesn't dishonor our culture or our heritage, but it tells the truth about it and what are some alternatives.
Yes, in the documentary we were just watching, Vegucated, that's based in America as well, and the lady's heritage in that she was like Peruvian, Honduran, I believe, and a lot of it was based around the cooking, but that it was leaving her family obese, this cultural heritage they had.
Word. I'm going to definitely check that out, Vegucated. I've heard of it, but I just ain't had a chance.
Yeah, it's based in New York as well, so...
Yeah, the only thing they could have done is maybe address some of the cultural issues and taught the family as a whole to cook, because you can't be a lone island. If you're used to cooking as your family, then they should have brought some recipes that maybe mimic some of the food that their family were used to cooking.
Yeah, man. That's interesting. I just been studying and restudying this book called The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg, and that what you just said is a great point, because he talks of the science of habit and how we are compelled to do things that may not be in our best interest, and how we transform that power into willpower so that we can create habits of what we want to do, and they be just as powerful and influential on our behavior. And one of the things he was saying is replacing the routine. So you have the trigger, What you normally do, like some people want to smoke a cigarette, they have that trigger. It might be when I wake up in the morning or when I have my cup of coffee or whatever they do, I always have a cigarette. And then my reward is I feel relaxed, go on with my day, right? So that's the trigger and your reward. But the middle part is the routine or the habit, and that's what? The cigarette. So they teach you in the power habit of how to replace the routine, the middle part. Keep the trigger, keep the reward, but replace the routine. And so instead of that cigarette, well, if your reward is I feel more relaxed and I can deal with work, well, what's the real issue? The real issue is maybe I'm stressed in the morning and I drink this coffee which pumps me up and gets me all wired and even adds on to my anxiety and the tension, and then I smoke the cigarette and it makes me feel more relaxed. And so they would suggest maybe you should meditate for 5 minutes, right? Or maybe you should go on a walk around your block and try it, right? And what will happen is you say, you know what, I do feel a little more relaxed. I do feel whatever. And so you haven't changed your habit, right? You've only replaced the middle of it.
Yeah.
And I thought that was powerful. And, you know, being somebody who has definitely transformed a lot of bad habits, now I'm a marathoner and different things, I related to it. So you're absolutely right that you can't just change something. You have to have the alternative.
Take that candy from the baby, instead let him have a kiwi. If the kids don't eat their veggies, then no TV. Saturday evening, exercise creates endorphins. Rollerblading, skating, walking. Caution what you put your fork in. Chew it well and watch your portions. Read the label, choose organic. It's good for you and the planet.
What does a typical day's diet look like for you? What are your favourite foods?
Oh, man, my favorite foods? I really like Ethiopian food. There's a bread that they use that is not yeast bread. It's an unleavened bread. It's spongy and it's kind of fermented. And the vegetables, the lentils, the greens, and beans and sauces that they make, you know, they have a lot of vegetarian dishes in their original culture. We really like the flavor and the taste and the fact that it's whole food, plant-based. We eat that a lot. Depending on my goals at the time, like when I was training for the marathon that I completed in October, I had a totally different diet than I have now, doing more weightlifting.
Yeah.
And so it changes. When I'm doing more weightlifting, I do a lot of plant-based protein, whole foods. I don't do supplements.
Oh.
I don't do powders, and I make my own. So one of the big protein things that I make is pumpkin seeds. I'll get the raw pumpkin seeds, and I will put them in this little machine that pulverizes them, turns them. It's a grinder, and I make that into a powder, and then I put that in my shake, or I might make it as a batter on some sweet potatoes or things like that. So I get protein from, you know, plant-based sources when I'm training and trying to cut up or gain a little size. You know, it's crazy because that has been my goal since the beginning of the year. I got a photo shoot coming up at the end of February, but I just got invited to participate in a marathon in October in Ethiopia. So it's a whole, you know, we'll be doing that campaign, but long story short, so I had to adjust my training now to be ready for that altitude.
And your wife, Afia, authored a book called The Vegan Soul Food Guide to the Galaxy. What are some of your favourite recipes from it?
Oh, man, okay. That whole book is like foods that we eat all the time and have over the years. One that just comes to mind is the buffalo tofu. You know, it's like the traditional wings with the hot sauce, but it's tofu and it's lightly battered. There's the greens, the al greens are great. There's so much. It's a book to other people, but to us, it's like art.
It's your life.
Do the al greens come with a pot of boiling grits?
Oh, a pot of boiling grits, all right.
Yeah, right. I'll explain that to Ruth. Al Green, during one part of his career, one of his partners threw grits on him.
Oh.
Speaking of grits, though, there is a recipe for something called Sunday soul grit. And that's one thing that Afia insists on in terms of breakfast, that you have a green at every breakfast. A lot of people, you know, wake up in the morning, eat starches or whatever, and but she always insists that you have a green, even if it's a green juice. So, you know, we get a lot of greens in around here.
I recently did a raw week actually for the radio show, and I was having green smoothies for breakfast, and I found I had lots more energy actually having greens.
Exactly.
And well, I'm a huge addict of kale. I love kale. I think it's the best thing ever.
Me
and
too.
Yeah, I just adore it. And I had 2 bowls of it today. I just can't stop eating it because I hadn't had it for like 3 days.
We opened up our very first episode with the Dead Prez song Be Healthy.
They say you are what you eat, so I strive to eat healthy. My goal in life is not to be rich or wealthy, cause true wealth comes from good health and wise ways. We got to start taking better care of ourselves. Be healthy, y'all.
Amir Questlove Thompson of hip-hop group The Roots claims the song to be a huge inspiration on his own weight loss, calling it one of the most radical recordings that left him and collaborator D'Angelo open-mouthed. Why did you want to release this song, and why do you think it was seen as so radical?
Wow. Well, that song was inspired by my healing process that I talked about a little bit earlier. And I couldn't just put it in words. I had to put it in a song. You know what I mean? Like how much that realization meant to me at that time. It was a revolutionary realization, and because it put the power into my hand, right? And when we talk about, revolution, sometimes we get lost in the dogmas, but revolution is about putting the power in people's hands, instead of it being in companies and corporations and institutions' hands to decide for you, right? And that empowered me in that sense. And I realized that I can make certain choices that's going to be better. And so I wanted to make that song, on that record in particular, Let's Get Free, which was largely a political record about the oppressive conditions that come out of a bureaucratic state system. But I always saw the connection in our personal life, personal choices. For many people, that is more urgent and important than what government may or may not do for you or not. But what can you do for yourself? This has been a theme and a passion all throughout us making music, and I find that that's what I've gravitated towards. My partner M1 is very active and vocal and involved in a lot of political campaigns, from Gaza Strip to political prisoners in the U.S., and he's very, on the forefront of that. For me, my passion is on the forefront of, the health and wellness in our communities. You can't have a bunch of revolutionaries that are smoking cigarettes and getting high and drinking all the time and not taking care of ourselves. And then you don't want to have a bunch of healthy, strong, fit people who don't understand that we have work to do as it relates to changing the conditions in our community politically. So it's about that balance and that bridge. It's funny with Questlove, we've done a lot of touring with the Roots over the years, and I remember some of those first times when, we would be on tour and we had special diet and we got to go find this and do that, and everybody would look at us like, y'all are crazy. You know what I mean? Y'all are just, you don't even eat food. Y'all just are revolutionary to the core,
Yeah.
And he had a lot of health issues, I think our presence on the tour, not just the song, but our presence made it more relatable to him, made him say, they just like me. They just choosing, when I'm going to order a hamburger, they going to get a veggie burger, and I could do that too.
And he was tipping the scales at 400 pounds, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was up there with it. But he's been making radical changes in his lifestyle, and I am more than happy to have had some positive effect on him, because
You'd obviously have thought D'Angelo would have been a good influence on him as well, because he was like heavily ripped at that stage, wasn't he, when he was touring with Questlove?
Yeah, he was, man. And D'Angelo, is a good brother who he's meant a lot to our career, because we were able to open and get exposure to a wider audience, and we really appreciate him reaching out to us to do that. But as you know, D'Angelo's story is one of, he had his physical body looking excellent, was very powerful because he took the time to invest and do that. But at the same time, he had an addiction to cocaine and an addiction to a lot of other drugs and things that coupled, even months after that, you saw the deterioration of his health, of his fitness, of his ability to even do his career. You know what I mean? So that's just as important. And with RBG Fit Club, we recognize that, you know. And I saw that as somebody getting high and drunk all the time as an artist, and I saw these things, and I made a choice. Many years ago, I made a choice to not get caught up in that. But 4 years ago, I went completely sober. No weed, no alcohol, you know, at all. Not even like a little beer here and there, you know. It's been the best, most revolutionary thing I've ever done in terms of my life and my family life and my ability to be more useful to my community. Health is not just what you eat and what you don't eat. It's your whole lifestyle.
Can you think of any other hip-hop songs that are along dietary lines? I mean, I can think of KRS-One, Beef.
Woo, yeah. You know, love that. There's not a lot, man. You know, on my show, Balance Radio, I'm often looking for those songs to share, but they are far and few between. And that's another reason why I did the workout, because there needs to be more positive, still strong, still hardcore hip-hop, but it has a message that is inspirational and useful to people, because a lot of people work out to hip-hop because the beat is strong, and they don't like off beats and just softness when you're trying to push yourself and reach them extra, you know, go that extra mile.
Quitters never win, a winner never quits. The burn is just weakness, transform to strength. When times get hard, I go harder, think smarter. Bruce Lee said, be like water. Tough times make us tougher. My mama ain't raised no sucker. I ain't scared of no struggle. I love to let it burn. Push it out, burn. Make it count, burn. Get it in, burn. Discipline, burn. Squeeze it out, burn. Breathe it out, feel that burn. You only get what you earn.
We end up listening to music because of the beat, but the lyrics are the opposite of what you want to be programming into your brain. I recognize that, and I created the workout to not just do one album. I'm working on the part 2, but I wanted to try to help found a genre, and I call it fit hop, right?
Yeah.
So it can be strong, hardcore hip-hop, everything we love about hip-hop, but I didn't use no curse words, I didn't use no N-word, and I didn't contradict the message of the premise of the record. It was all about positive lifestyle, training, health, and wellness, and reaching our potential. So that genre, I hope other artists will first take that on to live, and then be able to use their creative talents so that we have more options and we don't have to just listen to negativity just because we like the beat.
When's the Workout 2 coming out?
Well, I'm currently working on it, you know, and that's one of those records that it comes. So I've been working on it since the beginning of the year, and I'm excited. I got a few keepers I know, but I'm definitely living and training and taking input from my friends and training buddies and seeing what else we can explore in terms of what the first one did well, but what else is there, you know, to add on to the story.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Where you go next with the idea, yeah.
Yeah, you know, and I think, you know, I'll tell you something that I struggled with when I thought about doing Workout 2. And I was like, well, I already did it. You know, I did something for the runners. I did something for yoga. I did the weightlifting. I mentioned the martial arts, vegetarian. You know, what else is there? And then I thought about, how many songs have you heard about drinking in the club? How many songs have you heard about pass the weed again or whatever it may be? Or how many love songs have you heard? It's the same stuff over and over, just what do we want to hear over and over, you know, and especially when we're training. So I had to work that out as an artist who always, I don't want to repeat myself, you know, but I had to realize that that's why you have a chorus in a song, it repeats, right? So that you can remember it, it can stick with you. So I think we do need to repeat some of the same messages, but just in different ways. When I put out the workout, man, you don't understand how much emails I get. Like, we need more of this. I done played this album to death. And so it's going to be a combination of the same spirit with some different places that we're going to go. Some other sports, like I got a one joint called Riders, which is for cyclists, like to get on the stationary bikes, as well as people who like to get in the street and ride. But it's for all my riders, you know what I mean?
Brilliant.
So by the time you get to the Workout 5, there'll probably be a song about lacrosse or something.
You know what I'm saying?
No, we like the Jeet Kune Do ones. We've just started doing Jeet Kune Do here.
I was feeling like Bruce Leroy with the glow. Training every day, many different dojos. Eventually I got to study Jeet Kune Do. That's Bruce Lee's art for those that don't know. It's a martial art, but it's a whole lot more. It's not just kicking and punching, it's the approach. What I value most is the philosophy behind it. Only use what works and stay open-minded. Express yourself, respect truth where you find it. Can't be walking around out here blinded. We have to be willing to change so we could grow. Having no way is the way, stay in the flow. Accept no limit, reject the status quo. Life lessons I'ma take with me until I go.
We've just started training it. It's brilliant. It was just, we just love it.
Oh, that is awesome, man. I can't even. Jeet Kune Do is so crucial in my development as a philosophy as well as a martial art. So that I know you guys are gonna have an awesome experience with that.
Yeah.
Will you have more songs from your wife as well? I loved her songs, her song as well. That's really good. Even though I have never had a baby or anything, it's nice to hear about women being strong and fit.
Yeah. I had to give her a whole lot of kisses and beg her to do that.
She was brilliant.
So this, and she was like, okay, I did it, So I was like, and I was like, but you gotta do another one.
Oh, she's got to for all us women, yeah.
She got to be spoken word on all the other tracks, didn't she? It was only the one song with a rap.
Yeah, exactly. she did the spoken word on Healthy Living as well.
Yeah.
She got it in her.
You can do it, mama. It's just baby fat.
Mama's on her way to getting back in shape. Looking good, feeling good, doing what it takes. Tone up my legs, lose a little in my waist. It's not a race, I go at my own pace. Self-confident, trust in my inner faith. Discipline was what I put on my dinner plate. I know a beautiful body is what a man loves, but I do it for me. I got my own standards.
Similarly radical to Be Healthy, but not unrelated, seeing that animal farming accounts for 51% of greenhouse gases, is the song Global Warning, which we also played in a previous episode. Could you tell us about the Green for All charity and why you wanted to be involved with the track?
Right on. Well, we have so many comrades, involved in different community work, right?
Yeah.
And some of my comrades, the brothers who I'm on that song with, they are in Oakland, California. They are some of the frontline people as it relates to environmentalism, as it relates to organic education in the hood, right? And they are excellent musicians. So Ashel is the brother that he's known as Seasons on that track. But Ash, he reached out to me and he was like, "Yo, I want you to be a part of this, yada yada." And he sent me the music, and I was like, "Wow." Like, I liked it just on the artistry of it and then the message on top of it. And we've done a lot of campaign work with Green for All, which is pretty much a foundation that educates people about things that you mentioned and how communities of color and urban communities and all communities can be better educated and better involved in sustainable living. And that's part of my brand mission. I don't just work with people just, you won't see me doing a Coca-Cola ad. You won't see me, doing a Hennessy ad. But I'll go to, and I've been to several of their conferences and representing because I believe in share the same value. So, and I get educated by all of those great organizers who have much more knowledge than I do, and then I'm able to articulate it through music and use my platform.
Go green, go solar, go agriculture. Fire burn McDonald's and Coca-Cola. All corporate vultures should burn in the toxic sulfur they emit. For every dollar they get, they exploit the culture and take resources, control the media, and censor the voice of the voiceless. Sitting back fat in their office. They don't see people, just profits and losses. They don't give a damn about the trees or the dolphins. You green if you don't know it's the greed for the fortune.
So, Green for All is one of many of those types of organizations that we work with. In Atlanta, we work with an organization called Truly Living Well Natural Urban Farms. Similar, but they're focused on teaching people how to grow food in urban neighborhoods.
Yeah, that's really radical in itself, just doing that. And the song has a really good video as well, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, man. Have you guys seen the video for Food Fight from that same album? That video is, one, is hilarious, and two, it is amazing how they put it together. I did my part on a green screen, right?
Yeah.
Or for people who don't know, like you're in a studio with no background, and then they make computer stuff around you later. Long story short, so I didn't know what the video was exactly going to be. But when I saw the video, it's like The Matrix, and this whole idea of people being addicted or under the influence of the Matrix when they're eating from corner stores and eating Debbie cakes and all this little fast food stuff. And Morpheus kind of teaches, you know, the truth, opens the eyes, and then they end up having this food-related fight with donuts exploding and all kind of like funny but very serious at the same time. And I saw the video and I was just like, this is amazing right here. This is going to go far.
Did they urge them to take the green pill?
Exactly, literally. Man, you might have some ESP or something, man. And it illustrates some things that need to be said. You know what I mean? The song is called Food Fight.
We'll stick it in the show notes. We'll stick the video on the website.
Yeah,
anyway.
we'll put a link to Global Warning as well.
Yeah.
Even though we've played the song before, just so they can see the video,
so
which is good.
The video, yeah.
Yeah, Earth Amplifier. Yeah, people can still get that free. It's an amazing album, amazing artists that are living what they're talking about for sure.
We'll have to.
Another good song, by the way, on diet is Prince Animal Kingdom, if you've ever heard that.
It's Prince's Animal Kingdom?
Yeah, he's got a song called Animal Kingdom. That's talking a lot about diet as well.
No member of the animal kingdom versus past maturity. No member of the animal kingdom ever did a thing to me. So I don't eat red meat or white fish. Don't give me no blue cheese. We're all members of the animal kingdom. Leave your brothers and sisters in the sea.
I'm a Prince fanatic. I've seen him 7 times and all this kind of stuff. I'm obsessed with Prince. But in our first episode, we played Be Healthy and then we played Animal Kingdom. They were the 2 songs in our first episode.
Awesome, man.
Yeah,
I gotta check that out.
That's a good
one.
I
had a chance to meet Prince as well, man.
Wow.
Under what circumstances?
Well, we had the same lawyer, Londell McMillan.
Yeah.
And
Did you have trouble with the contract as well?
Yeah, right. You know, we were all related. So we were at this event. You know, we sitting on these nice Persian pillows and just chilling. And all of a sudden, this guy with some high-heel boots on and a trench coat and 2 humongous bodyguards just walk up in front of us, and they take his jacket off for him, and he sits down, and he was like, "Dead Prez, I love y'all," with a super deep voice.
Wow.
and we sitting next to Prince. and like, wow, right? So, and I wouldn't even know Prince even heard of us, right?
Yeah.
And he's so eager to talk about, yo, I like y'all music, and y'all are these few people saying something, and blah, blah, and all this, and he gave us a critique. He said, but y'all curse too much.
Why are we not supposed? No,
he's.
I've seen him once. I have to say, he puts on an amazing show. He is a pretty amazing man.
Yeah, I think you played his music on some of your mixtapes, didn't you, or one of your radio shows or something?
He had actually asked us to work with him in that same sitting, and we were going to work with him, but we just kind of lost contact. You know how that can be. He wanted us to do a remake of Sign of the Times.
Hurricane and it ripped the ceiling off a church and killed everyone inside. You turn on the telly and every other story is telling you somebody died. My sister killed her baby cause she couldn't afford to feed it, and it was sending people to the moon. In September my cousin tried reefer for the very first time. Now he's doing horse. It's June.
You know, maybe it'll still come forward.
He owns his master recordings now because it's 25 years. So he owns Sign of the Times now, so he is free to do whatever he wants with it from now on. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Well, hey,
with the help,
if the Prince calls us, we gonna show up.
Yeah, I think you would do. I think anyone would do.
So, how do you perceive the marketing of confirmed hazardous foods such as cow's milk to ethnic groups who are largely lactose intolerant? On the other hand, are fresh fruits and vegetables made available freely to all American citizens?
Yeah, good questions. one, I think certainly milk is marketed across the board in America, right? By the dairy industry, the meat and dairy industry, as essential to your health. They have the outdated food pyramid that was paid for and developed by the meat and dairy industry, and they recommend all of this high amounts of dairy products and meat products that you need. But the meat industry are the people who funded this research and, you know, made sure that it fit within their corporate interests. And so, yes, black and brown populations are said to be mostly lactose intolerant. But if you look at African people called the Maasai, or many of the East African people who they eat, you know, of the cow, they drink the cow's blood, the milk, and they don't have lactose intolerance. So to say that on a factual level, to say that black and brown people are lactose intolerant may or may not be a case of your ethnic origin, your racial origin, right? But I think it's the commercialized, capitalist, overproduction, steroid, chemical-laden farming of cattle and the whole chaos that is involved in is problematic, you know, for the American people, period, and people all over the world. You know, we're affected by the industrialization of certain levels of things that we consume. And I think it's marketed the way it's marketed to make money. You know, people believe that they need dairy products to be healthy, and they believe that simply because it's been marketed as such. And it's not true, and there's many other scientific studies that don't have the marketing money behind it to compete with. There's just been a lot of lies with a lot of dollars behind it that people who don't have access to alternative information buy into it, and it keeps that machine fat. In terms of access to fruits and vegetables, the urban community is basically situated to be workers, the working class. The whole idea is you're close to the industrial production. If you need people to do certain manual labor jobs, they're in the urban community, they can get where they need to get and do the work. And then they live in little boxes, and are we supposed to live in little apartments or projects or whatever to make it efficient and simple for the government? And they got this whole thing planned out called capitalism. And then in that, you having land and the ability to cultivate the land, to feed yourself, to feed others, to eliminate chemicals, to have a local diet, you know, that fresh and available to you is not in the agenda. So, you know, the people who have an option are the people with money who can live where they want to live and have as much land as they can afford. But everybody else has to live where they can afford or where they happen to be born. In that case, there's McDonald's on every corner, you know, and there's all of the fast food things in the hoods. These companies know these people don't have access to their own food, right? They don't have land to grow their own food.
Yeah.
So by default, we're going to get their business just by being present.
Yeah.
Because it's convenient.
Yeah, and they're just being reliant on whatever gets driven into the city, really.
Yeah, exactly. But that's why things like the urban farm movement is so revolutionary. Because you can have lettuce. Like in my backyard, we got lettuce popping up out the ground every 2 weeks. We got all kind of different vegetables and tomatoes, cucumbers, and squashes, and sweet potatoes. And down the street at the bigger farm is everything else. That movement is key because not only does it give you healthy alternatives, but it shows you the power of the land. Malcolm X said revolution is based on land. So it shows you value that society puts on stuff, charging you all this money. It's like, come on, man. That's growing right out of the ground. How y'all, why is brown rice and all this other stuff more expensive? And, you know, you can get 1,000-gallon can of soda for $1. You know what I mean? Come on, man.
It's about controlling. It's about controlling the means of production, isn't it? They don't want you to think you can just grow your own with some seeds and some water. You can grow your own food.
Yeah, exactly, man. But you can complain about it and you can go and protest, or you can plant a seed, or you can do both.
Yeah.
but definitely plant that seed.
Absolutely, it's so important. We're involved with a local cooperative farm basically around here too, and we grow our own fruits and vegetables, even though we have a tiny garden. It's so amazing seeing things coming out of the ground and realising that you actually planted them, and it just connects you with the soil.
All the resources are going to growing these perfectly manicured grass lawns out in suburbia, and all those resources could instead be going into growing your own food.
Yeah, it's a movement, man, and it's a movement of productivity and positivity and showing and proving. And that's what I love about it. Like, these are things we can do, man. You know what I mean? These are things that are good for everybody. Leaves nobody out, and that everybody wants their family and relatives to live longer, to be healthier. We have to come together on things we do have in common. And I can't see anything more in common than our health, food, basic human needs.
Do you see any interconnections between the way that the human animal exploits and oppresses other species of animals and other social causes?
Indeed, I do. Well, let me just say this. I think popular human perspective on animals is very, very arrogant and ignorant. Whereas, you hear it common in conversation where people say, well, we're the higher animal.
Yeah.
Because we have intelligence or all this stuff that you hear humans saying. And I feel that is completely ignorant. I think my view on animals and the animal brothers and sisters that we have is that they are, if anything, more evolved in terms of their way of being than humans. Because if you look at the destruction on the planet, if you look at the conflict between our own human species on so many levels, the animal kingdom doesn't have that. The animal kingdom don't have politicians telling lies. The animal kingdom don't have suicides and drug addiction and none of this stuff.
Yeah. Being able to live sustainably with their environment is a great show of intelligence in itself, isn't it?
Exactly. That's you put it so well. Exactly. So first I want to say that. Second of all, in terms of, the exploitation of the animal beings comes from the same people who exploit the human being, It's the same mentality, the same idea of you're going to work for me for my benefit and you're expendable. That same mentality created slavery. That same mentality creates the poultry industry of fast food. That it's the same mentality, and unfortunately the animals are vulnerable in a way that they are just taken advantage of with no resistance. No, you know what I mean? Like an individual animal will resist in its natural state, but you're raising animals in captivity that never even got a chance to come to their own sense of self. And kind of like in slavery, when they came to Africa and the different indigenous places, the first people resisted, right? But once you capture and you start breeding people within the confines of the reality you want them to accept, then it's a different ballgame. And then they behave based on the conditioning that they've had. So it's very related, between the exploitation, oppression of animals and of human beings, and even the prison system right now, and you could compare that to the circus.
Have you read the book Alice Walker gives the forwards, Dreaded Comparison?
No, I haven't.
Oh, that's an interesting book, yeah. It's just, obviously Alice Walker, I forget the author's name, they're just, making the links between the history of slavery and farming in America.
Yeah, man.
And there's also one about the Holocaust by Isaac Bashevis Singer called Eternal Treblinka. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I'm going to have to do the knowledge on those, man. But yeah, that goes deeper in. We got a new album, Dead Prez, called Information Age. And one of the focuses of this album was about inner consciousness. We've talked about political consciousness. We've talked about street knowledge. This record is about inner awareness, enlightenment, awakening. And it comes from a perspective of what we're talking about, because that's so much bigger than your race or your nationality. It's your mentality that can exploit another being. No community has a monopoly on, and no community is innocent of. it's realizing, and how do we do that? How do we cultivate the realization that compassion, right, is the way of life? How do we cultivate that? And that's our work. That is revolution. That the revolution is when people come to that realization. Then power has shifted. Until then, it's just different people sitting in these same seats.
Yeah, and as regarding the arrogance regarding other animals, as we were always reporting on our radio show, as soon as humans think one thing makes them unique amongst the other animals, science disproves it. It just shows how similar we all are.
Yeah, man. And to me, it's obvious. I mean, it's obvious that there are different expressions of life all around us, all within us. But none of those expressions of life can exist in isolation. For the arrogance of our human ego because we have words that we created to say that's, more important than, the barking of a dog or the singing of a bird, is the same way they would say, well, our skin is white and yours is not, and so you're of less important, same thing.
Or the dog can say, your sense of hearing is so much weaker than ours, your sense of sight is so much weaker than ours, your sense of smell is weaker than ours. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then they would be savage beasts to think that, right?
Yeah, exactly. Your second Dead Prez album, RBG, Revolutionary but Gangster, or Red, Black and Green, features Jay-Z on a remix and drew some criticism for a perceived shift from the political to the practicalities of retribution.
I know what this is about. We broke those boxes, y'all try to put us and separate us, you know what I mean? We together on the same track now, baby. What you gonna call us now? It's gangsta. That's right. RBG. That's right. We in the building. Watch that.
In the context of RBG Fit Club, what definitions do you attribute to the acronym RBG now?
Oh, right on. Reaching bigger goals. Return to the backyard garden. Rice, beans, and gravy, baby. The acronyms for RBG keep coming. RBG, we didn't create that to make a prison for ourselves. We created RBG as a way out, a way forward. And, even RBG was coined from the red, black, and green liberation colors, right? Which was very important to our awakening and our understanding. But there is greater still in the universe we live in. We see it as a continuum. We should be able to know that we have rights as our individual nationalities and communities and ethnic groups that have to be respected, and in many of those ways we have to organize as a group consciousness to do that. But at the same time, there are just as much dogmas within these different divisions that can stifle your humanity too. And that is a revolutionary thing to say when you come from certain groups, because everything is okay to be revolutionary until it requires that to be revolutionary. You know what I'm saying? We want to tear down tradition, right, and convention, as long as it's other folks' convention and tradition. But we have to realize we fixate ourselves on tradition too, and then we end up regurgitating the same thing and not allowing our point of view to grow and change. You mentioned Jeet Kune Do, and this is why I consider Jeet Kune Do such a revolutionary part of my life, is because Bruce Lee saw that within the martial art, and he saw how there's all this classical traditions and conditioning in terms of this Korean karate chop versus this Japanese front kick. And, he said, a kick is a kick. It's either efficient or it's not. And it can change based on what you weigh. It can change based on your speed, but a kick is a kick. So screw all of this ethnic superiority of different stuff, and let's get down to the real meat of what it is. And that was revolutionary in the martial arts, but it created the MMA today. His philosophy was radical at that time, but the whole movement of martial arts today owes that to people like Bruce Lee, who saw beyond the separations of tradition that's been held for thousands of years and saw a way to bridge it.
It's almost akin to sampling in hip-hop, isn't it? That you're just cutting what you don't need and just keeping what you want. That's what Jeet Kune Do is about.
Yeah, hip-hop is Jeet Kune Do, and Jeet Kune Do is hip-hop. In essence, as a philosophy and as a way of being, definitely, yeah. That's why it's so easy for me to be in both of those worlds, and for many people that's why hip-hop is a universal language, because it cuts past the division.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Life is hip-hop. Life is Jeet Kune Do.
I think the critics were a bit simplistic, because they were like harking on the gangster elements to that album, but obviously you've got the red, black and green Marcus Garvey element that they're just ignoring, aren't they?
Yeah, well, you know, I understand critique is necessary because critique is different perspective. Nothing is true in all perspectives, depending on how you're looking at it. But for us, the gangster element was important because it's true, right? The gangster element is important because we live in a gangster world. If you think you live in something else, you're not living in reality.
It didn't end with Al Capone, did it?
Yeah, exactly. No, Al Capone was a peon in the culture that produced Al Capone. But the real gangster is the system that is being perpetuated. That's the most gangster mentality there is. That's not something we want to push to the back. Even now, we say healthy is the new gangster, you know, with RBG Fit Club, because gangster is not necessarily bad in the sense that it's recognizing that you have to organize, you have to unify, and you have to fight in as positive and productive ways as you can, but yet it's still a fight for your value or for your turf or for your right to exist the way you want to exist. And if you try to follow all of the rules and all of the laws in a corrupt system, you're never going to get nowhere, because the rules and the laws are the invisible bars set up to keep everything in status quo. So just deciding to change your diet, you become a rival gang against pharmaceutical companies. If you think you're neutral, okay, look on the books, look at how they're trying to outlaw herbs, how they're trying to own and copyright seeds and genetically modify and put it in your food without you even knowing what you're eating. That is a rival gang banging on you.
It's almost like the protection rackets that the gangsters used to run, isn't it? Particularly in this case of Monsanto, like you're saying there, because they will come back and say, that's our seed. You can't grow anything from it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like we're trying to just sell you the word gangster to sell some records. No, we live in a gangster world, period. And so we want to be revolutionaries within that, but we going to keep it gangster because that's what we're living in. And so we're not going to tell you to be defenseless, you know what I mean? We're not going to tell you to hold hands and ask Monsanto to do good by us. You know what I'm saying? Like, that ain't how it's going to work. We're going to have to be disciplined in a strong, organized force of people who refuse to let Monsanto infiltrate our turf, which is our bodies, minds, and spirit, period. So we still gangbanging. We just gangbanging for our health and our wellness.
The idea of a workout album conjures up images of Billy Blanks in Lycra and bad techno music. What led you to revolutionize the genre with a serious concept album?
Man, you know, like I said, it was time in my life as a man to claim my platform in a way that reflects my maturity and that respects my unique experience. And I felt like I can do more good and be more effective embracing that. And so I didn't want to keep repeating the same messages from when I was 18 and 16 years old with Dead Prez music. I wanted it to evolve and grow. But a lot of people expect the same thing. You know, you just give it to me again. So I knew, you know, for me as a solo artist or whatever is where I can best open that channel.
You come to the gym, you got to pay your dues. The body get weak if the body don't move. I train for the street, it's no Queensberry rules. Got a winner attitude, I feel like I can't lose. Got my game plan set, I'm not the same man. In 6 months, watch, I'ma be a changed man. Like Heru on my shirt with his wingspan. Raising up the bar like I'm training up for war. I'm back on my workout, back on my regimen, back on my weight gain, back on my discipline, back to the gym again, back on my vitamins, back on my training, feeling stronger than I ever been.
I wanted to talk about, things that I'm passionate about in my life today as a father, as a human being whose consciousness is ever expanding. And I was like healthy living and training, and I love running, and I love the martial arts and all of this. This is what I want to talk about. But if I try to push that through the Dead Prez vehicle, I think many people would be like not necessarily able to process that in a way, because people are so resistant to change.
Yeah.
So I just created an outlet for myself as a solo artist to do that. And like I said earlier, the whole techno stuff is not really what a lot of people want to train to. They want to train to hardcore energy music, whether it's rock and roll or whether it's hip hop, but there's not enough in the genre that is actually positive lyrics. It's like brown rice with cheese on it. It's like, nah, man, we need some brown rice. You know what I'm saying? That's what I want to create. Let it be strong for you and good for you at the same time.
But Billy Blanks wasn't doing badly, was he?
I don't know how he's doing now, but yeah, he certainly inspired a lot of people, which is a good thing.
Yeah, I think it went a bit wrong for him of late. We used to do the Tybo DVDs. That was like the first thing we ever exercised to, wasn't it?
Long time ago. Probably not as long as I'd like to think. Hey, anything that gets you moving, I don't care what it is.
Exactly.
We always say we've got a black belt in Tybo. Yeah.
Marcus said that to one of the Jeet Kune Do instructors, and he looked at us as if we were serious. We just went, "We're joking, man. We're really joking." We understand you ran a marathon late last year, and unsurprisingly have a song on the workout entitled "Runner's High." What does a typical week of fitness look like when you're back on your regiment?
It depends. You know what I mean? Like I have different goals. My main training philosophy is like there's 4 aspects to it. There's strength, there's flexibility, there's endurance, and then there is what I just call meditation, self-awareness. For strength training, everything you do, can develop your strength, but specifically there's times when I focus on weight training and calisthenics. For flexibility, my favorite thing to do is hot yoga. For endurance, running, boxing, jumping rope, things like that. But running is my passion. And then I meditate daily. And that's my approach to training, is to make sure that I'm developing equally in all those areas. And I don't just want to lift weights for cosmetic, for how I look. I want to lift weights to keep my bones and muscles challenged and growing, and as opposed to decaying and atrophy, right? I want to do the yoga to learn how to coordinate breathing in my postures, to learn how to be more flexible, not only in my body, but in my mind and my spirit. And it just rejuvenates you in an amazing way. And then, your heart muscle is one of your most important ones. Cardio is how we challenge the heart, keep it conditioned, and running and sparring and jumping rope and things like that allow the heart to really get a good workout. And then the meditation allows you to manage the daily stress of life. It allows you to let go of even your fitness goals, to not be too obsessive about anything, but to just breathe and to know you have that. And that manages stress in ways I can't even describe in words. That formula keeps me motivated, keeps me fit, keeps me happy with how I look, and I'm able to change my goals using that formula, increase in certain areas, cut back in other ones when I have specific goals. Like when I'm running a marathon, I'm doing less weight training, or when I'm not running a marathon, I'm doing more weight training, stuff like that.
And you also have martial arts as well.
Indeed, yeah. And, with martial arts, for about 8 years, I was like 5-6 days a week, whether it's sparring or learning my techniques, practicing different things that I would be instructed. I trained in Jeet Kune Do, but I also trained in other arts, Eggbel Gun, Wushu Kwan, Kung Fu. So there was a period in my life, when I healed from gout. 8 years of that was intense martial arts training. And then my son got interested in boxing. So I started training in boxing with him, and moving into cardio and conditioning, because boxing requires a lot, and a lot of people that inspire me, like Tyson and the great boxers, Muhammad Ali and Sugar Ray Leonard and all of them, they all would talk about the discipline of running and how, boxers have one of the best conditioned physiques there are. Yeah. And so that really inspired me. I didn't get inspired for running from like the casual after work runners. It was people at the boxing gym. And they'd be like 4 a.m. in the morning putting in 7 miles. Oh. That was inspiring to me. And once one boxer named Bones at the gym he gave me a challenge. He was like, if you can get about 45 minutes nonstop to an hour, that'll be a good foundation in your running. And, once I got up to that and, and I was working on when I tour, I would get off the plane and have it set up, and I just built up my endurance to the point where I did a half marathon year before, and then I built my endurance up to do the full marathon just in October. So it just became a runner's high.
Yo, drug in my veins, I got a runner's high. I put my soul on the concrete. The rhythm of my breath controls my heartbeat. Adrenaline pumping, leg muscles working. I take off on the runway. The asphalt is my airport. But I fly with my feet on the floor. Get away for an hour or more. When I run, I can feel the breeze. I feel free and at ease. Like a bird flying over the sea. Like an African gazelle running wild and free. I see the dirt roads in Kenya, the mass-sized feet. And it's the same blood that runs through me. When it feels like I'm running on empty or running out of time or stress keep running through my mind, I resolve to continue. Keep my chest up, pushing forward. Overstanding everything has to run its course. My legs are my wings, they allow me to soar and endure.
Oh yeah, it definitely is. I've done a couple of half marathons when I was much younger, actually. I did them at 14 and 15.
Oh, that is awesome.
That was brilliant. I don't run so much now because I got it a bit injured. The Runner's High song really brought me back to some of the long runs I used to do and made me want to start running again.
Yeah, I love it, man. If you take care of yourself and you take, most people can enjoy it for a long, long time. The thing about running is it's our original sport. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the oldest, most ancient sport we have. And another thing that inspires me about running is the culture. In these industrialized countries, running is almost like it's seen as like not a rich people thing, but kind of upper middle class. You just running for no reason. You just out there running with them expensive shoes on, and it's kind of seen as like some uppity. But in actuality, running is indigenous, and the culture, not only in cultures like in the indigenous cultures, not only was running obviously something that people use for survival, but running was the first internet. Running was the first post office. Running was the first long-distance communication. And so not only did you have to have physical fitness, but you had to have the trust of your village and the other village. So your integrity, right, had to be of another level because you're carrying maybe private information, maybe valuable items, your bravery to go through territory that no one has been through, and it was a lot more than just a casual run. And there were organized tribes within tribes of runners. So they just like they're like blacksmiths in certain tribes, and they have their own society within, and their values and their fraternity and of that life and what it requires. And so the origin of the running culture is of people of high integrity, people of high endurance, and they are very committed and strong spirit. So that's what I tap into to keep me inspired as a runner. I use the races, as goals, but the lifestyle of a runner for me is my heritage and it's my indigenous culture.
Previously in our health and fitness episodes, we interviewed Ultimate Fighter winner and vegan James Wilkes. You're also providing the music for his Plant Athlete documentary. Could you tell us a little bit about this?
Yeah, very little, because we just began. And we've only had a few conversations. So I'm looking forward to developing it and once again contributing to something I'm passionate about. I'm ready. I'm ready to work. We're launching, of course, deadprez.com. We're putting together a tour, full worldwide tour in Europe. We're going all over the United States. South America, Africa, hopefully hit Asia and all over with the campaign.
Yeah.
But we're launching a brand new RBG Fit Club site. A lot more interactive events will be posted and things of that nature. But one of the things I'm really excited about this year is a campaign that we're introducing called a Million Mile Move. In a nutshell, people can run, walk, cycle, or move in various other ways and contribute miles to our goal of 1 million collective miles. And so that's something that at RBG Fit Club people can sign up for. It's all free. It's just another way that we can collectively be involved in this health and fitness movement moving forward. So there are people, marathoners and ultra marathoners who might be contributing hundreds of miles, and there are people who might just be walking, a mile every other day, but they're doing it more consistent because they know it's going towards a community goal. And I'm really excited. I'm ready to put my miles in.
Yeah, I was just going to ask about Information Age, because on the bonus track, you again tackle healthy eating. Can you just tell us about that album in general?
Yeah, I mean, Information Age was, definitely a sonic change for Dead Prez. Wanted to envision what would a futuristic kind of sound like, just to conceptualize this whole idea of information age sonically. And so, when you say information age, to most people, they think like internet, computers. So we knew that would be an easy way for people to kind of get the concept with using some of the digital sound and going in that direction. But really, the essence of information age is the inner awakening. This is the message of change, the message of awareness, of being willing to grow, finding out new things, empowering yourself with knowledge, was the theme of that album. And so, but we take advantage of the internet and the online platform and the ability to communicate through the iPhones and the this and the that, but to recognize the I that sees the I. And, at the same time. So we, for Dead Prez, that was a little different topic-wise as well as the sound, exploring consciousness and awareness and things.
Stock market crashing daily. They say that times are scary. They dollars losing value, but the hood knew that already. The price of gas been rising. At times we can't afford it. The oil supply is leaking, facing a global shortage. According to news reporters, every year is getting warmer. These violent weather patterns, some say it's just nature's karma. They planting they seeds of fearing, genetic engineering interfering with the crops, and now the bees are disappearing. Don't know what is upon us, just know one thing for certain. Change is so necessary, cause they system is not working. Maybe it will take destruction to make a better world, and if that's what it takes, then I hope Babylon just keep on burning.
Let me send love, let me send thanks for many, many years of support. Thanks to you guys for allowing us to, to share your platform and speak to people. I like to say to people, be inspired, be happy about, the choices you're making for plant-based lifestyle and the future of the planet. So be happy that you're a part of that and keep it up. And let's stay connected and ride on our enemies. And that's heart disease and lung disease, all of these rival gangs.